Welcome to another G-Dubs video and welcome to El Nido. Me and the King just landed here via a 3-day, 2-night boat trip with Buhay Isla. Have I pronounced that right? Absolutely not. Assassinated as usual. However, this is going to cover everything. We went from Coron to El Nido. However, if you're going from El Nido to Coron, it's the exact same thing, mate, just the opposite way around. There's people trying to do building work in the background, but the show must continue. We're going to cover everything from cost to logistics, what to bring, where you sleep, and of course the infamous story of how on night one we literally nearly died. People were dropping Hail Marys. It's absolute animosity. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button down below. Still en route to 2K subs. Let's get cooking, baby.
Let's kick off with a little bit around logistics. You need to be there 1 day in advance, as there is a briefing at 5:30 p.m. at the team's offices the night before. They just cover standard stuff around arrival, what to bring, any essential items, and of course cover off any final questions that you may have. And you get to meet the team, the people you're going to be living with for the next 3 days, because strap in, you're going to meet some absolute legends. The main things, to be honest, to bring are make sure you have a dry bag. Obviously we were there semi-rainy season, so yeah, all your stuff will be soaked. If you don't have a dry bag, and you will be canoeing to and from the shoreline of where you stay each night. So I'd say dry bag is the most essential item. Things to have in there, of course, a towel, swimming gear. They do provide a mask and snorkel, but if you want to be using one that someone else has been using days before, again, that is up to you. Obviously change your clothes in the evening. I'd probably advise something with a long sleeve top. It was super warm in the evening, but if you want to avoid a few of the old mosquitoes, other essential item is of course a power bank. Nowhere you go for the 3 days will have any power, so that would be an essential item. If you want to take a few of the old JPEGs, a few of the old MP4 files. Final thing is, they do say that they do provide purified water, but personally I'd bring some water and some like hydration tablets or hydration powder to whack in there, because the water is pretty terrible, to be honest. It's like what you get in the south of England. Horrible bit of kit. And the rest of your stuff, if you have a huge case like me and Em, will be locked away at the bottom of the boat. So super safe, but you will not have access to that throughout the trip itself. If you do have any, like, do you know what I mean, they class it as like special items, laptops, iPads, things you want to make sure are essentially safe, they put that on the top deck. So like I say, locked away again. But yeah, you won't see that until the end of the trip. And then you need to get to the big port at 8 a.m. for about an 8:30 start on that day, checking all your luggage in. You need to have breakfast that morning, but the rest of your meals for the entirety of the trip will be included. But enough of me rambling on about the boring stuff. If you do have any other specific questions around logistics and what to pack, bang it in the comments down below. And yeah, let's get into the trip and where the fun begins. The trip kicks off about 8:30 p.m. and you go about 2 hours for your first stop, which is Buhay Island. You're going to find out very quickly that I have the worst pronunciation, but we're just going to have to roll with it, and anything I'll include in the description down below so you can go and check that out yourself. Another recurring theme you're going to hear from me is turquoise, crystal clear waters, because that's what we kind of got throughout our entire experience in the Philippines. The first stop was pretty cool, to be honest. One side of the boat was super dark blue, and then the other side were the corals where you could go snorkeling and explore. I've never really seen water like this, where the water's really flat, but then a really strong undercurrent, so you have to be a semi-good swimmer. Any of the stops, one of the team or two of them will be in the water on a kayak, so it's not like you're going to be whisked away to sea, but it does help if you've got a bit of swimming about you. I thought it was super fun getting pulled one way and you had to swim against it, but again, something to consider if you're not the strongest swimmer. Every place that we kind of stopped throughout the entire 3 days, we were the only boat, or only of like 1 or 2 boats there, so it's like a really exclusive experience on that front, and you go to a lot more remote places than just doing like the day trips in and around El Nido and Coron. So definitely a big thumbs up on that. And as you're kind of seeing, we go through the content, the weather for us does deteriorate throughout the weekend, but don't let it distract you, because it was an unbelievable experience and trip. That was the only semi-downside, is that there was a bit of rain, but yeah, take it from me, it was phenomenal, and obviously I'll try and bring things to life as much as possible. The second stop was about an hour from the first one. We stopped at Titanium Sandbank, or we actually went here the day before, me and Em, on a boat trip called Banana Beach. I'm going to include a little bit of drone footage from a guy that we met the day before, and a German couple from the boat here, because this island is absolutely unbelievable. When you just get a bit of sun glistening off it, it is again phenomenal. Opportunities at all the stops for snorkeling, swimming. I think as well, you need to enjoy snorkeling to really enjoy this trip, because I'd say 90% of the stops, you're either going to be snorkeling or swimming / snorkeling to shore. There was only one on day 2, which was a little bit of something different. We jumped in the water. She'd been in the water about 18 seconds, decided she didn't want her Crocs, she didn't want her mask and snorkel, so I had to swim to shore with all that strapped to me like an absolute nutcase. But again, jumping off the boat, silly amounts of fish, and yeah, the sandbank itself, crystal clear waters, super shallow on one side, then you've got the corals that you can explore on the other. But this is a super cool island, one of probably the highlights of the weekend itself. And yeah, Brian, who gave us a drone footage from the day before, as you can see, the further he goes out, the more and more you can see how much of a flare sort of setup and landscape is. And I also think you get it from being in the water, but when you get that sort of macro scale view, super high in the sky, again, I think it brings things to life even more. So yeah, flare little setup, definitely gets the GW seal of approval, naughty colours, naughty water, and yeah, just a top draw way to get us into lunchtime. The next stop was lunchtime, and instead of saying each time this was lunch, this was dinner, and showing you one meal, just give a bit of an overview and account from my perspective, because I was super impressed from magnitude of different reasons. The fact that they're prepping, cooking, sorting this out while the boat's moving, while you're at sea, yeah, is unbelievable. The quality of the food vastly exceeded what me and Em were expecting on the boat itself. Silly amounts of meat, silly amounts of fish. Often we wouldn't even finish it as a team. Did help there was like 15 people on the trip and 10 girls who often eat like sparrows, so there's 15 lads. It might be slightly different, but yeah, silly portions, like masses of tuna steaks, masses of like barbecued pork, which is absolutely banging. But yeah, the highlights for me were probably the tuna spring rolls. They made this like banana patty look like a burger again, which was phenomenal, and the barbecue style pork, a little bit fatty at parts, but yeah, absolutely top draw. A little bit of charring on from one chef to another. We give them the big thumbs up there. And even like little touches, obviously you had to fill in your passport details, your date of birth and stuff, and they brought a cake out for one of the girls whose birthday it was on the trip itself. They were carving messages into like the fruit platters that you got with every meal. So yeah, absolutely phenomenal on that front. The only, I'd say, semi-downside on the food and drink front for me, as I kind of mentioned before, was the water. They do offer purified water, and you've got unlimited amounts of that, but yeah, it was pretty grim. So there's one thing I would probably say they could either upgrade or bring with you, would be some bottled water to keep you going throughout the day. But we do want to end the food on a high section, because it was a highlight of the trip. And if you've read the information online, it says this is not a party trip. There is alcohol, but it'll be used sparingly. It's unlimited rum. They give you a couple of bottles in the day. If you go and have some more, you can get more. But in the evening, do you know what I mean? We probably had like 10, 12 bottles available every night. So it was more than you could drink as a team. We did put it to the test on both nights, actually, how many we can get through. But yeah, unlimited rum and coke. So that was absolutely top draw. And if you find a better question master than me on the Filipino circuit, give me a shout, because it was absolutely running the show in that game. So yeah, food was banging, highly exceeded expectations. The final stop of day one, we were just around the cove at Titanium Beach. I decided to swim to the shore and back, which was an absolute killer on the way back out, swimming against the tide itself. So if you are going to do that, take a snorkel as well as your mask. I just prefer swimming with a mask on, but yeah, to come back out, swimming breaststroke against the tide, not the wisest. This was like super blue. So again, there's different parts where you're swimming in shallow coral where you can see the floor, and there's other parts where you can't. So again, if you want to pick and choose where you feel most comfortable, there will be options for both. But yeah, like I say, just be prepared to swim in some dark blue side of things as well. Me and Jake, one of the lads, were diving off the front, so this is a cool spot if you do want to dive in, because it's obviously a lot deeper. Some of the shallow parts, would not advise that unless you want to knock yourself out. As you'll see in a lot of these clips, G-Dubs is wearing a t-shirt, the things you hate to see or love to see, depending on how much you want to see my rig out. However, I burn. It's overcast, as you've seen for a lot of the clips. My back, absolute toast. My arms are in absolute shambles as well. So I had to rock the t-shirt, the token t-shirt wearer, for the whole 3 days itself. Unfortunately, in the afternoon, it did get, this is where it kind of deteriorated a bit. It got a little bit rainy, got a little bit overcast, but we don't let that get us down. The rums were flowing, and yeah, this is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So yeah, they do know how to kind of raise the spirits. And then we kind of moved on to camp for the day, or as base camp 1 and 2, as they kind of call it. In terms of getting there, basically, when it's like bad weather, a lot of the jellyfish come into the shore and the shoreline, so you can't swim across to it. So we had to get kayaked one by one in what I can only describe as pissing rain. It was absolutely outrageous. Obviously, went straight from there, straight to have a shower for the day. The camp, as it says online, do you know what I mean? This isn't a bougie, this isn't a luxury trip. It is super, super basic, but everything you need. So the showers are right. You're just launching a bucket of water over your head, and then the rooms are all lifted off the ground. They are like kind of waterproof over the top, and you've got a mosquito net and, do you know what I mean, a mattress on the floor, so it gets the job done. And if you get a few rum waris in the system, you will be absolutely fine. As I mentioned, the food's banging and the rums are unlimited, so that'll kind of get you through the evening. Night number 1 had some of the most mental tropical thunderstorms that I've literally ever seen. People were literally praying as they thought we were gonna die. Obviously, I was just flying through the rums at a ridiculous pace, so yeah, it didn't matter too much. And also there was 2 people on the group. They shall not be named, however, we will go under their alias, Keith Lard, as they invited a stray dog to sleep in their bed. So outrageous scenes from those 2. I told them to go away and check out who Keith Lard is. Outrageous behaviour. But yeah, day 1 wrapped up, the rums were flowing, couple hours sleep between the thunderstorms, and yeah, we're praying for better weather come day 2. Post a terrible night's sleep due to the rain and the storm. We got up about 6:30, breakfast at 7:30 on the first day, so obviously you want to maximise your time out exploring and getting amongst it. Again with the breakfast, insane portions, a few pancakes and this mental like cooked beef jerky thing, which is probably the highlight from myself. So the day number 2, all the activities are mainly snorkeling, but you did have a mixture of cliff jumping in there as well, which of course I didn't tell Neens and Shady about until we got back, so obviously that went down pretty well. All the snorkeling spots are super, super cool, super nice, seeing lots of fish. The only thing I would probably say is just beware of, I don't know if it was like the mini jellyfish or the plankton, but you kind of have to check for those at every stop. It's nothing that's going to really hurt you, but they do give you just a little sting that lasts a couple of seconds. So yeah, some of the places you do have to move on to, but again, you're at the open sea, there's loads of opportunities for them to take you 5-10 minutes away to a different spot where there's less of them. But yeah, loads of different corals, loads of different places to explore on that kind of first 1 or 2 stops. And then we were in to the mixer, the main activity of the day, the cliff jumping. When you watch it back from the boat, on videos, on the drone shots that you're kind of seeing now, it does not look high at all. So it's actually pretty embarrassing being like, yeah, it was pretty tough, pretty high to jump off. But it was 9 meters where we were jumping from. So yeah, you obviously climb up. To be fair, a few people cut ourselves climbing up this little rock face, and then you jump off. It doesn't look high. It was bloody high in my book. And then just to absolutely take the piss and show us how pathetic we're actually being, one of the tour guides climbed up to kind of double our height, literally up like the sheer rock face, and jumped off, yeah, straight from the top ropes on some like WWE stuff. So yeah, that was pretty flair. And then the final stop on day number 2 was again a place where you can kind of snorkel and explore. I thought this was super cool, this spot, because there was loads of corals where you can look into. We saw like different kind of stingrays and stuff, multicolored fish, probably the most amount of fish that we saw from the entirety of the trip itself. But because of like the overcast conditions, the water was a little bit choppy. Again, I enjoyed it because I'd say I'm a fairly strong swimmer, but it was like dragging you away from the boat. So to get from where we were snorkeling back to the boat was yeah, a pretty tough swim against it. But I love any sort of stuff like that, and I guess there is the element of risk and daringness in it, but they were on the kayaks for safety, and they were throwing like a rope to people who were struggling a little bit. So at the end of the day, you're going to be absolutely fine. But yeah, if you do want to be thrown around in the water, this was definitely the stop for you. And obviously Bolton's answer to Michael Phelps was absolutely fine, in and out of the water, in and out of the currents, and it's absolutely having our way with it. Camp number 2, similar-ish to camp number 1, do you know what I mean? Cold bucket showers, so make sure you get used to those. The beach here was super, super nice. We did have like a little glimmer of, I'd say, sun/a sunset. The colours that you got, even though it wasn't super sunny during the day, were absolutely crazy. You got like the pinks, the reds, the oranges, absolutely flying into the retinas. So that was pretty silly behaviour, and shared a few of those on the old Instagram. So if you're not following me already, give me a follow on Insta, Gareth Wright 2, and you are getting daily updates, JPEGs, MP4 files of what the team are getting up to. But in terms of the camp itself, again, it's just a big mattress on the floor with a mosquito net. So it's all the stuff that's going to get you through. But yeah, it's definitely not luxury. And when you combine it with, do you know what I mean, like 15 rum and cokes, it doesn't really matter where you're sleeping. You'll be sleeping like an absolute baby. There was a basketball court here, so if you wanted to play with the boat team, you could fly by with Bullet, who seemed to be the best at that. So yeah, Jake was in the mix of playing a bit of that. There's obviously all the places where you kind of stop the base camps. It's all under coverage where you eat and drink, so it's not like you're going to be out in the absolutely soaking rain when you're eating or chilling in the evening. So yeah, plenty of space to do that. We were on the beach for quite a long time, flying up the old drone, getting a few pics, and yeah, I'd say the stop number 2 was a nicer beach. If you've got like a really, really nice summer's day, I think this will be unbelievable. But yeah, that wraps up day 2, and yeah, into day 3 very shortly. Day number 3, the final frontier. So a little 8 a.m. breakfast, an extra 30 minutes in bed. It was super overcast, it was super rainy, and unbelievably choppy sea. So this was probably if we talk about highlights, this was the low light, this was the negative. They had to do 3 hours from where we started. We had to miss the first snorkeling spot because yeah, it was too choppy to get in the water. And yeah, we went 3 hours to pretty close to El Nido. I've got a pretty iron stomach after years of throwing John Smiths and Monster down the old gullet, but yeah, my stomach was in knots on the boat here, so I was at the back, very, very close to throwing up, just lay down with my feet in the water as we kind of, flew towards El Nido. So we did miss a swimming spot, but yeah, I guess that is part and parcel of these trips. You don't all stop in the exact same places, but there's loads of different opportunities to snorkel, cliff jump, get in the coral, get in the water. So if you can't get in one, they'll make it up to you with another little spot. So yeah, we actually stopped on a part of El Nido. This is one of the longest beaches in the Philippines, 3.5 kilometer beach itself, but it was about 3 hours to get there. So once we finally got there, everyone was dying of thirst, dying to just have a chill and relax for a little bit. This was the first place in across all 3 days where you could buy things, I guess, buy water, which was my first protocol. Whacked about 2 litres of mineral water, which is obviously at that stage nectar of the absolute gods. If you wanted to buy beers, a few little snacks to keep you going to the end of the day, you could do as well. There is one kayak at all the stops. If you do want to go to shore and stay dry, you can get on the kayak, usually with a member of the team, but most people, yeah, you're going to have to swim to the shore itself. The water's not choppy at all here, so it is usually pretty easy once you stop. And yeah, you can pick up a few little bits, but it was the lunch stop as well, so didn't want to get too much food into the system. I said I'd only mention the food once, but this was actually the standout amount of food. Insane food quality and amounts here. So this is where we had the tuna spring rolls, the tuna steaks, the barbecue pork. So they definitely left us on a high here. There was so many tuna steaks that we ended up having to leave a few. So yeah, the boat team finished those off. But yeah, massive, the biggest tuna steaks I've ever seen. Really, really nice, top draw quality. So yeah, only props to the chef itself. And then we kind of moved on to the final 2 stops of the day. These were probably, I'd say, if not 1 and 2, 2 and 3 in terms of snorkeling, exploring. Not in terms of the corals, but there was a massive turtle that was flying about for about an hour and a half in and around all the boats. So that was pretty flair. Never seen a turtle in the old wild. Obviously on that protection mission, using all the bendy straws for the VKs, do you know what I mean, over the last 10 years. So it was good to see they are still knocking about in the open waters. But again, super turquoise here, and the fact that it's not that sunny and you see how turquoise, how nice the water is, I think again shows you how unbelievable the Philippines are. You put that with a little bit of sunlight, which we had on our boat trips in Coron and a few days later in El Nido. So check those out on the channel, because yeah, you'll see how insane the water is when you get a little bit of light, a little bit of sunlight glistening through it. And yeah, we've got some insane drone footage here. So yeah, slowly but surely there's going to be more and more drone footage. Do you know what I mean? Just leaked into all the vlogs and all the content. This is from two of the German couples who were on the boat, and obviously Em was on the sticks as well, getting a few of the old angles, people jumping off, pressure on because she was less than 20% and everyone's still jumping in. She had to land it in front of everyone. So yeah, absolutely smashed it for literally second time flying the drone. I don't think I had it in the locker to land it on the boat with a bit of wind, and the battery flying down. But yeah, you're going to be seeing more and more of this. If the drone footage is a positive. Give a little thumbs up, give a little comment down below. And the final stop before El Nido was a little snorkeling spot. There's a little yacht pulled up, so yeah, you know, living that high life in comparison to us lot who were showering in buckets and stuff. But yeah, silly water. This was another deep spot though, so a few people wanted to swim in the deep water, other people didn't. A few people got the old kayaks out, but again, nice little spot to swim. And yeah, our final little frontier before we pulled in to El Nido, which, I mean, I've been in El Nido now for a couple of days, and yeah, it's been absolutely top draw. The boat trips here are absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, I would say El Nido over Coron, but there'll be videos on the channel for both. Check those out. But yeah, let's get into the outro and some overall thoughts from myself. Little outro, concluding thoughts. Is it worth it? Is it not? Did we have a good time? Absolutely beautiful time. I mean, the weather was the only semi-negative. Do you know what I mean? You can't hold anyone accountable, do you know what I mean, for the forces of nature, the beautiful spots, the swimming, the scenery, the snorkeling, the opportunity to see turtles, the cliff jumping, everything was unreal. I think that if that was a slight concern, make sure you go when it's dry season and you can alleviate that. But in terms of the price for the money, so yeah, it's £250 per person. I think it's pretty spot on for what you get. 3 full days, all your food included, unlimited rum, the places you go to, the opportunity to snorkel and obviously have that kind of, yeah, people in the water, and the safety element of that I think is really good. The food massively exceeded my expectation. I think a lot of people, when you talk about the Philippines, or a lot of my friends who've been here, have often said the food's not very good in general, or be careful, beware of it. To be honest, the food's been banging everywhere we've been, Coron, El Nido, and the boat trip as well. The fact they're whipping these meals up in the middle of nowhere is absolutely sensational. So they're all the kind of positive things to be wary of. As I mentioned before, the only semi-negative is obviously the waterfronts. I would probably just bring at least 1 bottle of water to get you through the first day and a half, and then you can survive, yeah, 24 hours until you get to the final stop in El Nido. The amount of money is absolutely spot on, and I think that these sort of trips as well are made by the people who are on it. We're an unbelievable mix of people, multiple different nationalities. Obviously, the English who are singing ridiculous songs, getting the drinking games going, and probably pissing a few people off. But yeah, that is part and parcel of it. Met some good friends from Germany, met some friends from France as well, and of course, the Archer from Netherlands. So yeah, legends of the scene. And when you combine that with a few of the old Runwaris, you're going to be having a good time. I think the long story short from my experience thus far is the Philippines is absolutely beautiful. The beaches and the water are where you want to spend your most time, so getting on as many boat trips as possible. Silly amounts of content on the channel, so if you want to see what we've done in Coron, El Nido, when there's been a little bit better weather, check those out down below. If you have any further questions, anything you want to know, bang them in the comment whilst you're down there. Hit that subscribe button, still en route to 2K subscribers. Silly year so far. El Nido content to follow. We're going to be going to Brunei, Singapore, Bali, Australia. Ruthless amounts of countries in the pipeline. So I'll see you in the next one. And remember, baby, the chef is always cooking. Let's get it.